Thanks for the great opening, Susan, and setting the tone, I think, for the summit. I'm here with a more distressing fact. Thriving in payments modernization when only 30% of projects are successful. Does that scare any of you out there? Only 30% of your projects are going to be successful. That's not the end of it. It actually gets a bit worse. Not only is the success rate low, the failure rate is high. So if you're running a program today, if you're running a project today, 20 to 30% of those will fail. And this was an absolute shocking number for me every time I see it. And I see it every 2 to 3 years. And it does not change. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? And if you ask the folks who have been to the PMI Institute, it's about project governance. It's about having the correct project management book. It's about making sure your requirements are right, your testing is done correctly. But that's, in my experience, not the goal or not the reason we have a successful project outcome. One thing above all else determines a successful project outcome, and that's leadership. And the reason I chose this topic for the summit today is you are all leaders of payments projects and payments programs in your enterprises, in your industries, in your companies. And these are the 3 things I think you need to do to make your projects and programs successful. The first, you need to be brutally honest with yourself. The second, you need to instill a one-team culture in your team. And the third is you need to be your best in the worst moments. I'm going to go through each of those and tell you a little story about each of them. And hopefully by the end, we are on a better track. Be brutally honest with yourself. Why is this important? My wife and kids often ask me what I do for a living, and I try to explain it to them. But at the end of the day, what I do for a living, what most leaders do for a living, is we tell stories. Doesn't sound that impressive. But we take incredibly complex ideas, incredibly complex and large pieces of information, and distill them into 30-second sound bites, 2-minute sound bites, 5-minute updates, with all the pertinent facts for our stakeholders and interested parties. That's what we do on a day-to-day basis. Now, the risk there is those stories need to be fact. They can't be fiction. And it gets very dangerous when we start telling ourselves fiction. And that's a very easy trap to fall into when that's what you do for a living. So with yourself, in order to be honest with your team, honest with your clients, honest with your stakeholders, you need to start by being honest with yourself. The story I'm going to tell you here is from a leader that I worked with back in the 2000s, the early 2000s. His name was Brent Cameron. And we were working at IBM, working for one of the large banks. And the agentic AI of the time was the IVR. So for those of you who've done telephone banking, you may remember that. And we had to implement this program for a bank where we set up their IVR in what at the time ended up being a cloud with 5 nines availability, which for those of you without an IT background means we were allowed to be down for 4 seconds a month. And we set it up in the cloud, but the difference was we set it up in the toll cloud. And again, I'm sure a lot of you don't remember what that is. But at the time, when you were doing telephone banking, the #1 cost was long-distance charges, 800 charges. So you could put your IVR in the cloud, you could save a ton of money. And this was stuff, as IBM, we had done before. Nothing of it was new to us, except connecting the IVR directly into the toll cloud. So when Brent, as a leader, went to tell this story, he was direct with the team. This is a first of a kind. We have not done this before. We need to do this early to make sure it works. He was also honest with the customer and let them know, hey, we may hit some road bumps. This isn't something we've done before. And that ended up being critical, because we did have problems. The project, I would still say, was on the successful side of challenge projects, but we were 2 to 3 months late. And after we went live, we had challenges. They weren't huge challenges. They were challenges with a small percentage of calls, but there were challenges that took 4 to 6 months to work out. If he, as a leader, had not been honest with himself, honest with his team, honest with his client, then when that first issue happened, it's a surprise, and you lose confidence. And if you've lost confidence and you have that surprise, you run the risk of ending up in that failed project category. Because Your stakeholders, your clients will not trust you to deliver the project. But if you're honest about that risk up front, if you're honest about the state of things, it's not a surprise. You buy yourself a lot of goodwill with that level of honesty and a lot of commitment to work through problems. So transparency is key, and it comes from being honest. My second point is to instill a one-team culture from day one. So, 4 points. Politics, agendas, distrust, playing project chicken. I'm sure we've all heard of these terms when working on a project. These are all severe red flags when you're on a project, and it's up to you as leaders to set the project culture. Transparency is absolutely essential for that one-team culture, and it needs to not just be encouraged, it needs to be rewarded. And what I mean by that is, I'm sure all of you spend some percentage of your days on status calls. When someone comes up with an issue, it's not blame the person who came up with the issue. It's not push back and get them to solve their problem. It's thanking them for bringing the issue forward. It's helping them to resolve their issue. And with that behavior, you encourage that level of transparency in the rest of the team. Because if I had just said, this is your problem, you deal with it, let me know what the answer is tomorrow, then that person's never coming back to me again with a problem. And a problem I don't know about on a program, it is something that's going to blow up eventually. My very quick story here was from the LINKS program, and I'm sure many of you remember Laurie Bunt from that program. She was the head of the program for Payments Canada. Laurie was a very engaging, compelling, but very demanding leader. And she was very good with the team in terms of building a one-team culture. Whether you were part of Payments Canada, whether you were a stakeholder at the banks, whether you were a vendor like IBM, she treated everyone on the team as the same. And that really brought an inclusion in the team. So, as any programs, they are difficult. We have difficult decisions to make, and sometimes we have decisions that no one likes. But when Laurie made those decisions, she had earned the trust of her team because she fostered that one-team engagement. So there were several decisions on the program where I didn't agree with Laurie, but there wasn't any back-channeling, there wasn't any politics, there was, Laurie, that's your decision, we're going to go execute. And that's what one team buys you. It buys you trust. So if you're on a single team with a single goal, that team focuses on that goal. That team doesn't worry when there's a conversation. What angle is this person trying to take? What is this person trying to do? The tone changes dramatically. It's, oh, that's a good idea. How can I help this person? Or how can I make this person see something different if everyone is working to the same goal? So, one team and a one-team culture is absolutely critical, and that comes from leadership, because it's how you react that sets that tone. My third item, and probably the hardest item, is to be your best at the worst moments. We are all here as payments leaders because we like to do hard things. If we didn't like to do hard things, we wouldn't be in payments. And with hard things becomes challenges, right? The job is not easy, day in and day out. It's a question of how you deal with those challenges. As a leader, are you going to bury the truth? Are you going to blame the team? Are you going to get upset? Are you going to get frantic? That tone sets the tone for your project. And the story I have for you here, I don't have the person's name, but I did an off-site back in 2007, 2008 with IBM, and they brought in a project manager from Europe to talk to us. And he didn't talk to us about project management. He told us a story. Woke up one Saturday morning, planned to go to the zoo with his family. Woke up in an absolutely foul mood. They all got in the car to go to the zoo, and one of the kids in the back said something, and he snipped at them and lost it a little bit, and he set the tone for the day. And he said that was the worst family trip that they had ever had to the zoo. Once he had set that tone, the rest of the family reacted to his mood, and that's how the rest of the day went. And he got back home, and he said, we've done this before. We've enjoyed this. What was different? And he traced it back to how he was right at the beginning of the day. So a month later, they're on another family outing. They went to the zoo regularly. And he had had a very rough week. And he was telling about his project and how it was in red status and how he had a very difficult week with it. And he said he woke up that morning as well. And he was in a bad mood again, but he remembered the last time. So he put a smile on his face. He engaged as if it was a great time to go out to the zoo, and the family had a great day. You are the parents to your projects. You will have bad days. You will have days where you don't feel like coming into the office and where everything is going wrong. You need to put a smile on your face with a positive tone because you set the tone for the program. And if you're having a bad day, that just ripples outward. So, 3 things I'm leaving you with today. Be brutally honest with yourself. You tell stories for a living, don't tell stories to yourself. And if you have real risks, you need to make sure you call them out. You need to make sure you call them out to your team so they can deal with them. You need to make sure you call them out to your clients and stakeholders so that they're aware of them and we have no surprises. Number 2, instill a one-team culture from day one. That's the entire team. It's not the people working for you directly. It's your vendors. It's your stakeholders. It's the guys in IT infrastructure. It's the team in security who's off to the side. You need to focus as one team so that everyone is working towards a common goal and everyone assumes the best when people bring things forward. And if you assume people are working with the right intent, magic happens on projects. And number 3, you need to be your best in the worst moments. You are like the rock that drops into the pond. Whatever you bring to the project spreads out and ripples. And even if you're doing a one-on-one talk with one of your team members, that will ripple. So whether it's a 100-person status call or a one-on-one, be very cognizant of the tone you're setting on the program. Why? Why do you need to do this? And this is the 3 things I want to leave you with. You need to do this for yourself. We all want to be successful. That's why we're in this business. We want to deliver hard things, and we want to do a good job delivering it. Number 2, you need to do it for your team. All of you here are leaders of some degree or another. You're here because you're modeling the behavior of other leaders. Your behavior will be modeled by the next generation, and that next generation will be in here next year and the year after that. So you need to do it for your team. And the last reason, and I'm going to echo Susan's comments a bit, it's a little corny, you do need to do it for your country. Payments is a team sport. Payments is a team sport, and we're limited in payments by what the least capable person can do. We all have to work at the same minimum level in order to be successful. And if we aren't successful at payments, money doesn't move properly and the country loses its competitive advantage. So it's a significant challenge for Canada. Okay, so finally, my ask for you. Number 1, I need you to think very hard about how you behave with your team. Think very hard about what you ask of your team. It's okay to be hard. It's okay to have demanding asks. You have to think about how you make that asks and how that makes them feel and how that ripples. You need to be very honest with yourself and with your team and with your stakeholders and clients, because that's what it takes for projects to succeed. And if you can do those 3 things, the rest of it will come. We have lots of experts and lots of help to get us there. And if you can set the right tone, your team will function. So, my personal interest in this is my current day job is helping Susan in the Payments Canada team to deliver the RTR program. And all of you should have programs that you're working on for the RTR program as well, and I do need those to be successful. So I hope you take this to heart and you're successful in your program so that we can be successful overall. Thank you very much.